thanks all the participants from home and abroad and our executive as well as our founding members of Bangladesh Society for Mathematical Biology to today's training workshop on computational tools for solving dynamic models in biological systems. A special thanks to our eminent speaker, Professor Dr. Molay Banerjee, for accepting our invitation for this today's training workshop. We are very much honored to have him with our activities, all sorts of activities, all kinds of activities. His gracious supports always inspire us, always inspire our members, always inspire our young talents. Today's workshop is very important fundamentals, especially for our young researchers, for our students and young colleagues, because it is very important to deals with dynamic models in all biological systems. So the models, especially linear, non-linear in different forms, but we need to handle all sorts of models, both analytically and numerically. So numerical computational is very important and fundamentals for validation of the models, for significant contribution for real application. So it is important to know how to build numerically such type of models. In such case, in such situation, Professor Molay Banerjee have a very long expertise in this area. So we again thank him for accepting our invitation. And I hope our young students, our colleagues, young colleagues, and all scholars who are working in this area and who have also interest to working in future in this area, both all of them will enjoy and will have a great benefit from this today's training workshop. And I would request all our participants to attentively listen both theoretical and numerical analysis and how to deal with using MATLABs or some other tools. Our speaker will discuss all the details. So we hope we will enjoy and the participants will have a great benefit from this workshop organized by Bangladesh Society for Mathematical Biology. So I cannot waste of time. I just uh, would like to inaugurate the session and would like to Professor Molay Banerjee to start his first lecture, and then I think we have a break for 15 minutes and then another talks. So again, thanking all our participants and with staying with us, enjoying today's workshop. Thank you everybody and thank you all. And our members of society also have a great contributions, all have great supports because we have repeatedly different types of activities, though this is the time of COVID pandemic, but we are making our all sorts of attempts to make society activable activities for different parts and in different angles. So thank you all and thank you our members as well as all participants from home and abroad. So I hope everybody will enjoy. So thank you everybody.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your nice welcome remarks. Now we are going to start our workshop. So before starting the workshop, I'd like to request all the participants to make your audio muted. And whenever you have any question or comments regarding the lecture, please put your question in the chat box. And after the lecture, we will have an interactive session so that we can answer all the questions or queries. So before starting the lecture session, it is really a great honor for me to introduce our today's eminent speaker, Professor Dr. Maloy Banerjee. Professor Dr. Maloy Banerjee is serving at the Department of Mathematics and Statistics, Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Kanpur. Professor Banerjee has an outstanding contributions to mathematical biology. His research interests include nonlinear dynamics, mathematical ecology, mathematical epidemiology, etc. He has been serving in the editorial board of several journals, as for example, Mathematical Modeling of Natural Phenomena, International Journal of Bifurcation and Chaos, Applied Mathematics and Computation, Ecological Complexity, etc. So maybe someone is sharing screen. Please stop the sharing.
Rajiv Hossain is sharing his screen. Please stop your sharing. Mr. Rajiv, please nobody share anything.
Please, Mr. Rajiv, stop your sharing.
আমার মনে হয় ওনাকে
আউট করে দাও কবির
আউট প্লিজ
Okay.
তাকে আউট করে দাও প্লিজ
Okay, now it is okay. Okay, sorry for the interruption. Professor Banerjee has given many invited lectures all over the world. He has also published a good number of very well-received expository papers and monographs related to mathematical biology. Today, we feel honored and privileged to have Professor Maloy Banerjee with us. May I request Professor Maloy Banerjee to deliver his first lecture today. So now over to Professor Dr. Maloy Banerjee. Thank you, sir. Please start your lecture.
Can you see my screen?
Yes,
Yes,
it is.
it's
It
okay.
is visible.
Thank you very much for your kind invitation and also kind introduction. And first of all, I must mention that I'm not an expert, rather still I'm learning these subjects from different angles. So as a training workshop, what I'll give you some basic idea which you have to acquire before attacking any new problem. So in this talk, I will discuss a couple of different models, that is bifurcation analysis in Rosenzweig-McArthur model. I have considered this one because it is very fundamental and you can see some sort of change in the dynamic behavior and how to obtain certain bifurcation diagram, phase portrait, etc. That I'll discuss during my second talk today. Then I'll talk a little bit about Allais effect because it gives us some opportunity to discuss something, that means what is the origin of some global bifurcation. Of course, some detailed idea about this global bifurcation I'll give you tomorrow. And then before completing today's first talk, I'll talk a little bit about a model which can show some sort of complex dynamics such that you can understand from where complexity can arise. And then finally, I will briefly talk about a three-species model, just to give you the idea that all the models are not two-dimensional, rather in reality, problems are multidimensional, and handling such kind of models is really a great challenge for us. So let us start with the bifurcation in Rosenzweig-McArthur model. As it is a training workshop for mathematical biology, so I hope all the participants are familiar with this model. I am not going into the detailed discussion, rather I'll talk more on bifurcation and other stuff. If you have any query towards the end, you can ask me the question. I'll be happy to answer your questions. So first of all, in order to analyze this kind of model, most of the time we are working with dimensionless version. So why this dimensionless version? Dimensionless version is only to have a model with reduced number of parameters. you can see that original model contains 6 parameters, that is R, K, A, H, E, and M. And now you can verify that as we have 3 variables, that is N1, N2, and T. So rescaling each of them, we can reduce 3 parameters and have a non-dimensionalized version into this particular format. Now at this step, one can ask me the question, and this is a natural question most of the time we have faced in different events, that how to have the non-dimensionalized version, or is there any particular methodology available in order to have a dimensionless version? My straightforward answer is that first of all, you need to understand the nature of the dynamics that can be produced by the model, and depending upon your goal, that means how you are going to perform your analysis, based upon that you have to consider the dimensionless version. Secondly, there are some geometrical aspects involved with the non-dimensionalized version. I'll give you complete details. That is also relevant or quite involved while we are deriving the dimensionless version. So next question can come up, that dimensionless version seems to be not unique, and answer to this question is definitely yes, because it is not unique. Why? Because we have 6 parameters here, and once we are converting this model with a new model in terms of dimensionless variables x1, x2, and t, say for this case, we have 3 parameters. So what happened? We have changed, or we have rescaled 3 parameters to 1. And then simple mathematics says there are 3 options to have such kind of dimensionless version. Now the question is that which one will be most handy, or which one will be most useful, and in particular we can say with which type of model or what kind of formulation we can have the results in a more easiest way. So my first and foremost suggestion will be, once you are considering some non-dimensionalization of the model, so be careful that through non-dimensionalization you are not losing any information about the dynamic behavior of the model under consideration. So as I have mentioned that non-dimensionalization scheme or non-dimensional version is not unique. So what will be the other possible form? Another alternative form for this model, which is a non-dimensional form, that is given by this one. And then the natural question arises with which we should proceed. So at this moment, I can mention, as I have mentioned earlier, that non-dimensionalization is an important aspect of bifurcation analysis. I will explain that how non-dimensionalized version is involved with the bifurcation analysis. So for this talk, let us consider a different type of non-dimensionalized version that is given by this one. So the point is that why I have chosen this kind of non-dimensionalization. The simple answer is that this is one of many different opportunities. But you just try to understand one simple thing. Here we have 2 differential equations in terms of x1 and x2. And this particular term, that is x1, x2 by alpha plus x1 in terms of non-dimensionalized version, this is the sole link between these 2 equations. So my suggestion, or most of the time what I like to do, I just want to make the coefficients of these 2 terms little bit different. Here I have kept one of them is exactly equal to 1 and another one is beta. And depending upon the problem, all the times it is not possible. But in some cases, in some book or in some literature, you can find they have considered the non-dimensionalized version as beta x1, x2 here, as well as beta x1, x2 here. But most of the time what I prefer, that this beta should not be present in these 2 equations. Why I am preferring that one, I'll give you the explanation within a couple of minutes. So with this particular version, what we can have, so first of all, we can derive the equation of the null clines. you know that this equation can be easily factorized, that is x1 times another equation, and then equated them to 0, we can have x1 equal to 0 is a trivial nullcline, x2 equal to 1 minus x1 times alpha plus x1 is the non-trivial nullcline involved with the first equation. Then from the second equation, you can have x2 equal to 0. That is one possibility. And second one is x1 equal to this one. Now, once we have these nullclines, then clearly you can visualize or you can realize that one nullcline is just a vertical straight line. And the straight line will move either towards right or towards left while you vary the parameter either alpha or beta or delta. Another question comes into the picture, that how to choose the parameter values of the parameters involved with the model. Okay, so in order to choose the parameter values, some information can be obtained from this step. What I'm trying to say, that this is a non-dimensionalized version for the population model, and that means we are looking for solutions which are positive with respect to time. So our dynamics or our attention is completely confined within the first quadrant. So therefore, in order to have this line x1 equal to alpha delta by beta minus delta in the first quadrant, we should have beta greater than delta. So just try to keep in mind, once anyone asks you the question, okay, you have chosen delta equal to 0.4 and you have chosen beta equal to 0.5, why you are not choosing beta equal to 0.3? Then quick answer will be, in order to ensure the positivity of x1, I need to choose beta should be greater than delta. So if delta is 1, then beta might be 1.1 or 1.2 or 2.5. If delta equal to 0.1, it can be 0.2, 0.3 and so on. If delta equal to 5, then it can take the value 5.1, 5.2, even 7 or 10, something like that. So some relation we can actually speculate from this simple expression x1 equal to this one. Then another part is that if you look at the equation of this nullcline, you can clearly understand this is a parabola, because it is an equation of the form y equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. Further, what information you can have, that all the parameters are positive here. All the parameters are positive here. So therefore, we need to have portion of this curve only within the first quadrant, and you can clearly see that okay, in that case you can have these things. X2 is positive whenever x1 lies between 0 and 1. Also, this curve passes through the point 1, 0, and if you substitute x1 equal to 0 here, then you can find x2 equal to alpha. So this is a continuous curve joining the point 0 alpha on the vertical axis and 1, 0 on the horizontal axis. Now you can find out the equilibrium points. Once you find out the equilibrium points, then x1 equal to 0, x2 equal to 0 will give you a trivial equilibrium point. Then you can assume x2 not equal to 0 and x1 not equal to 0. So then from this equation, you can have x1 equal to 1. So therefore 1, 0 is another equilibrium point. If you are intended to find an equilibrium point of the form 0, non-zero component, that means prey is absent, predator is present, you cannot find any such kind of feasible equilibrium point, because it is a prey-predator model with specialist predator. It don't have any alternative food source. So therefore, it cannot survive in the absence of prey. That's why there is no such equilibrium point for this particular problem. And finally, what we have the interior equilibrium point. Theoretically, it can be mentioned as interior equilibrium point is the point of intersection of two non-trivial nullclines. That means this equation and this equation in the first quadrant. And if you substitute this value of x1 into this equation, then you can find x2. But purposefully, or just for simplicity of mathematical calculation, I have considered here x1 star equal to this and x2 star is equal to this one. Now, just looking at this particular expression, you can clearly understand that expression involved with the components of coexistence equilibrium point give you a clear-cut indication of existence of a particular type of bifurcation, that is transcritical bifurcation. So what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to say that if you look at this equation carefully, then you can clearly understand if x1 star equal to 1, then x2 star is equal to 0. And once x1 star equal to 1 and x2 star equal to 0, then probably you can convince yourself that E star then coincides with E1. That means for x1 star equal to 1, x2 star equal to 0, that means E star coincides with E1. And in reality, what happened, that coexistence equilibrium point bifurcate from this axial equilibrium point. And next question is that which can be considered as bifurcation parameter. Now from this expression, that is alpha delta by beta minus delta equal to 1, you know each of the parameter can be obtained explicitly in terms of other by solving the equation alpha delta equal to beta minus delta. So any one of them can be a bifurcation parameter in order to study the transcritical bifurcation in this case. Now, just to give you a clear-cut idea that how they looks like, we can look at the next picture. This blue color curve is the non-trivial pre-null line, and black colored vertical line is the non-trivial predator null line. And based upon the chosen parameter value, you can see there is no point of intersection between these two curves within the first quadrant, and therefore there is no feasible coexistence equilibrium point. Now, if you change the parameter value, then you can have this line will start moving either towards right or towards left. But keep in mind that alpha is involved with this equation, that means equation of the parabola, as well as this equation. So at this point, my suggestion comes into the picture. I always like to choose a parameter for which only one null line either change its position or shape of the null line is getting changed. So why I'm talking about movement or shape change? The idea is that if you just try to understand that this equation, that means equation of this parabola is x2 equal to 1 minus x1 into alpha plus x1. So if you change alpha, what will happen? That this point will start moving along the vertical axis, and therefore as a result this curve will move either upwards or downwards, and also this line will move either towards right or towards left depending upon the fact whether you are increasing alpha or decreasing alpha. So in that case, as per our non-dimensionalized version, my suggestion will be to choose either beta or delta as a bifurcation parameter. And why I am suggesting such kind of choice? Because in that particular choice, this curve will remain fixed, only this line will move either towards left or towards right. So what is the visualization of transcritical bifurcation? Visualization is that once this predator null line, non-trivial predator null line, pass through the point 1, 0, that means this axial equilibrium point 1, 0 will be the point through which predator null line passes. That will be the your transcritical bifurcation threshold. Now, how to analyze these things? In order to analyze the transcritical bifurcation, what you need to do, you need to check some sort of transversality condition. So let us try to write down the equation in this kind of format with one parameter alpha. Don't confuse with this alpha with the alpha involved with the previous one, so previous model. So here alpha is a dummy parameter. So that means it denotes that alpha corresponds to the parameter which you have chosen as the bifurcation parameter. So the first of all, we can write this kind of expression into this compact form, and I prefer this compact form only for the reason because all the result can be extended to n-dimensional case without any hesitation. So first of all, we need the equilibrium point. Equilibrium point means there is no velocity along x1 direction and x2 direction. So therefore, fx star comma alpha equal to 0 comma 0, and solving this equation, you can find your equilibrium point. Then the first requirement of transcritical bifurcation is that Jacobian matrix should have a simple 0 eigenvalue. So after evaluating the Jacobian matrix at the point x star, how you can find out the transcritical bifurcation threshold of this Jacobian matrix and solve it for alpha, then you will find the transcritical bifurcation threshold. Now, the point is that you can raise the question that, okay, you are making the statement that determinant of this quantity is equal to 0. Solving, I will find a value of the chosen parameter, and that is transcritical bifurcation. Why it is so? It is so only for the reason I know that this problem will admit only transcritical bifurcation, and also geometrically I have explained there is only possibility of transcritical bifurcation here. So one eigenvalue 0 or determinant equal to 0 does not imply there is a transcritical bifurcation. Rather, in this case, we know this is a possibly transcritical bifurcation, but we need to verify certain transversality condition in order to ensure that yes, it is a transcritical bifurcation. So how to verify those conditions? So in order to verify those conditions, first of all, I have to calculate the two eigenvectors v and w, which are eigenvectors corresponding to simple 0 eigenvalue of the Jacobian matrix df as well as df transpose. Now at this point, I want to make one more remark, that this equation, that is det of df x star alpha equal to 0, that will also give you a clue which parameter can be chosen as a bifurcation parameter. The point is that if you can see that in terms of alpha, say it is a quadratic expression, in terms of beta it is a linear expression, and in terms of delta it is a cubic expression, then my suggestion will be go for beta as a bifurcation parameter, because you can solve this equation explicitly in terms of beta. But in reality, for several problems, it may appear that you cannot find out even coexistence equilibrium point explicitly. So then all the things you have to do with the help of some implicit function theorem, even starting from equilibrium point, in order to find out some other results like bifurcation threshold and so on. But from geometry, you will get some clear-cut indication that which kind of bifurcation is going to take place for the model under consideration. So after evaluating these two quantities, that means two eigenvectors v and w corresponding to the 0 eigenvalue lambda, we need to proceed further. So what is the further steps? Further steps is that we need to verify these three conditions. That is W transpose F alpha, this is equal to 0 or not. W transpose this quantity is non-zero, and W transpose this quantity is also not equal to 0. So what are these things? It is written in some, as of now, some unknown notation, but their explicit expression is given by this one. So F alpha means partial derivative of F with respect to alpha. And once you consider W transpose F alpha, here F have two components, F1 and F2. So ultimately W transpose F alpha will be W1 times del F1 del F alpha and W2 times del F2 del alpha. And then you have to evaluate this quantity at x star comma alpha 0. Similarly, D of F alpha means Jacobian of F alpha. So that means you have to calculate partial derivative of F1 alpha with respect to x1, then partial derivative of F1 alpha with respect to x2, and similarly partial derivative of F2 with respect to x1 and x2. And then this V means you have to multiply from the right by the eigenvector V and from the left by eigenvector W transpose. And once you do that, you can have this particular expression. And just for limited space, I did not put here that x bar comma alpha 0, but actually this stands for this expression, and ultimately you have to evaluate this entire expression at x star comma alpha 0. And finally, in this particular expression, del 2 f vv, this means this particular expression from where it is coming from. It is just coming from the second order terms involved with the Taylor series expansion of f1 and f2. So from there you can have this expression and this expression, and clearly you can extend your idea in case of 3 variable, 4 variable, and so on. Just suppose if it is your a 3 variable problem, what will happen? You will have del 2 f1 del x1 square v1 square plus del 2 f1 del x2 square v2 square plus del 2 f1 del x3 square v3 square, and then 3 cross terms, that is 2 times del 2 f1 del x1 del x2, then with respect to x2 x3, and then again with respect to x1 and x3, and so on. So once you have all these conditions are verified, that means these conditions are satisfied, then you can say, okay, the system undergoes transcritical bifurcation. Now, sometimes it may happen that some of the conditions is not satisfied, and those are actually called some sort of non-degenerate transcritical bifurcation. Now, how to differentiate between degenerate and non-degenerate transcritical bifurcation? It happens through the fact that geometry demands that two equilibrium curves should cross each other transversally, but sometimes it may possible that due to some size of parameter value or the nonlinearity involved with the problem, or even erroneous non-dimensionalization scheme, you can have the system in they are not intersecting each other transversely, rather they are intersecting in such a way such that the geometrical requirement or geometrical conditions involved with this transversality condition is not satisfied. But if you can ensure that there exist two equilibrium points in the vicinity of the bifurcation threshold, and there is an exchange of stability of the equilibrium point around the that particular bifurcation threshold, then you can ensure that yes, there is a transcritical bifurcation point. So here for this problem, if we choose the parameter value alpha equal to 0.5, delta equal to 0.4, and consider beta as a bifurcation parameter. So first of all, you will have the components of equilibrium point like this. And then if you substitute this expression into the given Jacobian matrix, that means after evaluating the Jacobian matrix, you can calculate df10 is equal to this one. And even without calculating the determinant, from here itself, you can clearly understand that if beta equal to 0.4 by this quantity, then this Jacobian matrix will have a simple 0 eigenvalue. And that particular value of beta 0 is just 0.6. And then substituting beta 0 equal to 0.6 here, you can calculate two eigenvectors v and w. And then if you calculate the other relevant quantities, this is your f beta, this is your d of f beta. And with this, if you calculate W transpose F beta is 0 and these quantities are non-zero. So that means all the transversality conditions are satisfied. Now, geometrically, how it looks like? Geometrically, you can have this bifurcation diagram like this. So this is the equilibrium point corresponding to 0, which is stable before the transcritical bifurcation threshold and is unstable after the transcritical bifurcation threshold. And from this point, the component of coexistence equilibrium point emerges, and that is shown in this particular curve. Now, just in the while I was in the previous slide, I was talking about two branches will intersect each other, but now you can raise the question here. I can see one branch that is a straight line, and part of another branch I cannot see the other part of the branch here. This is not shown here only for the reason because you can verify that if we choose the value of x star, because on vertical axis we are plotting x star. If you choose the value of beta less than this particular threshold, what will happen? X star will be greater than 1, and you can recall the expression x2 equal to 1 minus x1 into x1 plus alpha. So for x star greater than 1, you will be having x2 star is negative. In the context of ecology, that is not feasible. So theoretically, this branch exists here, but for ecological reality or for biological justification, we are showing only this particular branch. So now here I can explain that now you can see that tangent to this horizontal component of the equilibrium is the line itself. And now if you think about drawing the tangent to this particular curve at this point, so then two tangents to the two equilibrium branches are transversal to each other. So in this case, you can expect all the transversality conditions are satisfied. Now it may happen, instead of emerging this branch like this, it can emerge like this. So in a tangential phenomena. So that means they're both the tangents to the curve will coincide. So at that particular situation, it is of course a transcritical bifurcation, but some of the transversality condition may not hold. So once you can find or you can verify that some of the transversality condition is not, it does not satisfy. So that does not mean that it is not a transcritical bifurcation or not the desired bifurcation for which you are verifying the transversality condition. So that is why you have to be careful and you have to clearly understand the geometry of the problem in order to ensure what is happening at that particular stage. And finally, graphically, what we can understand here, you can see 1, 0 is the stable equilibrium point. Its stability can be obtained analytically, and there is no interior equilibrium point. Secondly, this is the transcritical bifurcation threshold, and now you can probably visualize or try to visualize now that once this line start moving in this direction slowly, so what will happen? One point of intersection between this curve and this curve will initiate, which will start from the point 1, 0, and as a result, if you change the parameter value a little bit, then you can see there is a point of intersection here. And now just try to understand what happened, that this line slowly moves from this position to this position, and as a result, what happened? The point actually traveled from this position to this position through this particular curve, and hence we can say that coexistence equilibrium point emerges from the axial equilibrium point 1, 0, and that kind of exchange of stability is already shown in the bifurcation diagram. Okay, finally, we can talk about Hopf bifurcation for this problem. So condition is that it should have a purely imaginary eigenvalues. So in case of two variable problem, you should demand the existence of a complex conjugate eigenvalues whose real parts are 0. But for higher dimensional problem, if the problem is of 3 or higher dimensional, that means it involves more than 2 variables. So then what we need, we should have two purely imaginary eigenvalues which are complex conjugate, and all other eigenvalues are having non-zero real part. Keep in mind non-zero real part. If you have any question on this particular statement, you can ask me later. So, but the point is that from the condition that is real part is equal to 0, in case of two variable problem, condition reduces to trace of this Jacobian matrix is equal to 0. That will give you the Hopf bifurcation threshold. Again, the same statement or same remark comes back, that you need to decide with respect to which parameter you can easily solve the equation trace of this Jacobian matrix equal to 0, and that parameter can be considered as the Hopf bifurcation parameter. And in order to ensure that whenever trace is equal to 0, we have two purely imaginary eigenvalues, then we need determinant should be greater than 0. And there is one more condition that is called transversality condition for Hopf bifurcation, that is del del alpha of trace of this quantity is non-zero. It means that sometimes it can happen that eigenvalue is real part of the eigenvalue is passing through the value 0, but it may not cross the axis. So that means it can passes through the value and does not change its sign. In that case, it is not a Hopf bifurcation. So in order to ensure that curve, that means the Hopf bifurcation curve or real part of the eigenvalue changing its sign from negative to positive, that condition is ensured by this particular transversality condition. So for this problem, again, if you consider beta as a Hopf bifurcation threshold and solve this equation trace of df x star beta equal to 0, you can find beta h is equal to 1.2, and at this particular value of beta, that is beta h equal to 1.2, you can have determinant is positive, and also you can verify that del beta of trace of this quantity is non-zero. So all the conditions required for Hopf bifurcations are satisfied. Now, if you look at the phase portrait for beta equal to 1, which is less than the Hopf bifurcation threshold, you can find the stable coexistence equilibrium point. So from wherever you start, all the trajectories will ultimately converge to this stable coexistence equilibrium point. Once you cross the Hopf bifurcation threshold, that is your beta equal to 1.25, and at that particular situation, you can find that this coexistence equilibrium point is unstable, and it is surrounded by a stable limit cycle, which is marked in this particular magenta color. And further increase in the magnitude of beta from 1.25 to 1.45, you can see that size of the limit cycle has been increased, and ultimately it will have some sort of limiting behavior. Now, from this situation, we can obtain a Hopf bifurcation diagram. It looks like this one. So what happened here, that this is the component of the coexistence equilibrium point, x component of the coexistence equilibrium point, and it is stable up to this particular threshold, that is 1.2. After that, it is unstable, and we have the branch of stable Hopf bifurcating limit cycle. So what is plotted here? Here, actually, I have plotted the maximum and minimum value of x1 on the limit cycle for a particular value of beta. During my next lecture, I will show you how this can be done in MATLAB. And the clear-cut idea is that this is your Hopf bifurcation threshold. Afterwards, you have this limit cycle as a bifurcation diagram. Okay, now we can talk about a model having Alley effect. And in this case, we can consider this type of model, that is just modification of the classical Rosenwig-McArthur model by introducing this Alley effect. Here again, we have a little bit different parameterization. You can see gamma appeared here, beta, which were earlier in this particular position, that is shifted to this one. Now, depending upon the sign of beta, so Alley effect may be strong, may be weak. In case of strong Alley effect, beta lies between 0 and 1. And for weak Alley effect, beta should lies between -1 and 0. And again, you can do the similar kind of analysis for null clines. And then you can find there are 3 axial equilibrium points. One is 0, 0, another one is beta 0, and another one is 1, 0. So E0, 0, 0 always stable. Keep in mind, this is for strong Alley effect, not for weak Alley effect. I'm not considering weak Alley effect here because with weak Alley effect, dynamics of this model is quite analogous with the Rosenwig-McArthur model. Then beta 0, this is a saddle point if gamma less than this one, and it is a unstable node if gamma greater than. Similarly, 1, 0, this is locally asymptotically stable for gamma less than this, and a saddle point otherwise. So in this case, what will happen, that from stability condition of this E1 and E2, you can understand that there is a change in stability of this equilibrium point when gamma equal to delta times alpha plus beta by beta, and change in stability behavior of this equilibrium point when gamma crosses the value delta times 1 plus alpha. And actually, or precisely, these are two bifurcation thresholds. This is one transcritical bifurcation threshold. This is another transcritical bifurcation threshold. Analytically, you can prove all those conditions are satisfied. Now, apart from that, if you look at the components of coexistence equilibrium point, then you can find X star is equal to this one. So more or less same expression as we have earlier, and then Y star is equal to 0. And now you can clearly observe that once your X star is equal to 1, then Y star equal to 0. And if your X star is equal to beta, in case of strong alley effect, that is beta positive, then X star is equal to beta. Again, you have Y star equal to 0. So what happens if we just go back to the previous slide? Just try to understand that X star coincides with beta 0 at one threshold when X star equal to beta, or that X star Y star coincides with 1 0 when X star is equal to 1. So that means when coexistence equilibrium point coincides with one of the axial equilibrium point, there is a transcritical bifurcation. And actually, you can analytically evaluate that in terms of gamma, that is one transcritical bifurcation threshold is this one, another transcritical bifurcation threshold is given by this one. And actually, this threshold can be easily obtained by considering this quantity equal to 1. Clearly, you can visualize that if alpha delta equal to gamma minus delta, then gamma equal to delta times 1 plus alpha, so which is one transcritical bifurcation threshold. And now if you consider this is equal to beta and solve for gamma, then you can find gamma equal to this one, so that is another transcritical bifurcation threshold. And also proceeding in a similar manner, in order to derive the Hopf bifurcation threshold, you can have the Hopf bifurcation threshold in terms of gamma is equal to this one. Now this is a interesting algebraic problem. You can try to prove for any positive value of alpha, beta, gamma, delta, whenever this value is feasible. So what will happen, that gamma H will always lie between this value and this value. But it is difficult to prove it analytically, but geometrically you can easily show these things. And here it is a bifurcation diagram. So what you can see that this component of coexistence equilibrium point that emerges from 1 0 through a transcritical bifurcation threshold. And also this component of coexistence equilibrium point ends at this point, which is another transcritical bifurcation threshold. In between, you have Hopf bifurcation here, and this one is the global bifurcation. I'll discuss about these things on tomorrow in detail, but just for your reference, what I can mention that at this particular point, there is a heteroclinic bifurcation. And with these parameter values, beta equal to this, alpha equal to this, delta equal to this, with the variation of gamma, you can have this particular bifurcation diagram. And now what is required and what is interesting to see, we can try to see the phase portrait at several different regions. That means once gamma takes value somewhere here, then somewhere here, then in between these two close threshold, one corresponds to Hopf bifurcation threshold, another corresponds to heteroclinic bifurcation threshold, then somewhere in between this, and finally somewhere here. But here what I have done, I have actually marked the stable equilibrium points in green color, and then you can understand that up to this threshold there is a bistability. And this one, that means axial equilibrium point corresponds to 2.2, that is actually separatrix between the basin of attraction of these two stable equilibrium points. And phase portraits looks like this one for gamma equal to 0.29, less than first transcritical bifurcation threshold, you have 1, 0 is stable equilibrium as well as 0 is a stable equilibrium. So you have bistability here. Then for gamma lying between TC1 and gamma H, you have stable coexistence equilibrium. Also still 0, 0 remains stable, and separatrix between these two basin of attraction is the stable manifold of the saddle point, that is beta comma 0. Next, once you have the value of gamma greater than Hopf bifurcation threshold but less than second heteroclinic bifurcation threshold as well as transcritical bifurcation threshold, then you can find unstable equilibrium point is surrounded by a stable limit cycle. And this is the threshold. I'll discuss it with you tomorrow in details how this particular threshold can be obtained. That is at which you can have this kind of heteroclinic orbit, which is marked in cyan color. You can see one trajectory starting from 1, 0 and converging to 0.20, and another curve which is starting from 0.2, 0 and converging to 1, 0 after moving along the horizontal axis. And finally, if you have the situation that okay, you are still below the second transcritical bifurcation threshold, you have this kind of phase portrait. So there is some sort of separatrix joining this point and this point, because still there is a coexistence equilibrium point. And once the value of gamma is greater than the second transcritical bifurcation threshold, then this coexistence equilibrium point disappeared and all the trajectory will converge to this particular point. So whoever is raising your hand, I'll give answer to your question after finishing my talk, and I'll not take more than 10 more minutes. Okay, now I talk a little bit about one model which I have talked about in the international conference also, and I hope some of the participants are common. If you have any query about this model, I'll be happy to discuss during the second half of my talk in detail. So this is some sort of example of a ratio dependent prey-predator model with density dependent death rate for predator. And why I have chosen this model, this model is capable to produce a wide kind of bifurcations. So these are the list of different possible bifurcations. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 different local bifurcation and 2 global bifurcations. If you are interested, you can have a look at our paper where all the details are available. But geometrically, what I can show you quickly, that you can find out 2 non-trivial null clines, equations of 2 non-trivial null clines in this particular format. And what will happen, that from here you can understand that if alpha greater than 1, then denominator is always positive. If alpha less than 1 but greater than 0, it cannot be negative. So in that case, what you will have, you will have a threshold value of u. So this is feasible only when u lies between 0 and 1, and also u greater than 1 minus alpha. So keep in mind, so you have to discuss 2 different scenarios. In one case, alpha greater than 1, and in other case, alpha less than 1. Similarly, from here, you can understand there is a asymptote of this non-trivial predator null cline, which is given by this denominator is equal to 0. And again, the feasibility of that particular null cline again determined by the magnitude of these parameters. And finally, if you interested to find out the equilibrium point explicitly, this is a quadratic equation in terms of u. So of course, explicitly you can find the components of the equilibrium points, although they are quite complicated expression in terms of all the parameters. And once you have 2 components of equilibrium points u star by solving this equation, then substituting in this equation, you can have the corresponding components of v star. Now from null cline, you can understand several kind of things. So in this case, alpha lies between 0 and 1. And what you can find that this branch has a vertical asymptote. So this is asymptotic if you proceed further in upward direction. And another null cline is this one, and there is a unique point of intersection. But in case your alpha is greater than 1, so there is a possibility that two null-line intersect in this particular way. Again, you have one equilibrium point, but try to realize that there might be a possibility that this green curve may start from this position, move in this way, and then cross these two curves in these 2 points, and there will be 2 points of intersection. And that is actually called the saddle node bifurcation. And if you do the particular analysis, so this is the situation where you can see the 2 points of intersection between these two curves. And if you have all those bifurcation conditions in a single platform, so you will have this complete bifurcation diagram. So this is the transcritical bifurcation curve. This one is the saddle node bifurcation curve. Then green one is the Hopf bifurcation curve, and blue one is the global bifurcation curve. And on this particular saddle node bifurcation curve, you have Bogdanov-Takens bifurcation point, and on the Hopf bifurcation curve, you have generalized Hopf bifurcation. And now let me quickly talk about this example of three species model. So what you can see that this is a very simple model, but having quite complex dynamics. I am just showing you just as an example. Try to understand that all the terms are polynomial except 2 terms which are actually modeling the alley effect in 2 prey population. So it is a 2 prey 1 predator model, and depending upon the problem, you can have some quite complicated bifurcation structure, as we can see here. So of course, this is just for your information. So if you can keep your patience, you can also construct this kind of bifurcation diagram. Some of them can be obtained analytically, but some of them requires some numerical simulation of the globe to identify the global bifurcation, and accordingly you have such kind of situations. But why? Because one of the important component or the phrase of this training program is computation. So where computation is required, some careful computation is required in order to understand or in order to explore several things. So here I can show you just one time series. You see a periodic oscillation here for a certain parameter value of the system. If I change one parameter value slightly, then you can see there is a second set of local maxima and local minima appeared in the picture. So that means what happened, that from one periodic solution, system enters into the 2 periodic solution. After that, what can happen? You can see this is 1 periodic, it is 2 periodic. After that, what can happen? There is some sort of deformation in this particular branch. So there is no further from 2 to 4, 4 to 8, or 8 to 16, but you have something different kind of bifurcation. And that can be visualized from the time series. You can see there is some sort of folding you can observe at this region, and further refinement of the parameter will show you there exists a point of inflection, and further change in the parameter value will clearly show you the appearance of 2 peak, that is 1 peak and 1 valley here. So that gives you some sort of new peak arising in this particular situation through a appearance of point of inflection, and these are actually called peak adding bifurcation. This is a new kind of bifurcation which we have noticed in some of the prey predator model. And the point is that with the change in parameter value, you can see that their heights are also getting increased, and ultimately you can see clear-cut difference between 2 sets of local maxima and minima, because here you can see that this peak is little bit lower compared to this one, and that's why initially we have this set of peak is added into the system. Secondly, we have another set of peak added into the system, and that is called peak adding bifurcation. So let me stop at this position for today's this talk, and now I can answer your questions.
Thank you very much, sir, for your nice lecture. We have received a couple of questions in the chat box. So first question is, Ariful Islam Arif asked the question, how to find the conditions for supercritical and subcritical Hopf bifurcations?
Okay. In order to find out the supercritical and subcritical Hopf bifurcation, you have to calculate first Lyapunov number. That is, there is appropriate expression for first Lyapunov number. If first Lyapunov number is negative, then it is a supercritical Hopf bifurcation. If it is positive, then it is a subcritical Hopf bifurcation.
Okay, thank you, sir. The next question, Sayoj Abe Joshi asked, in biological sense, what does bifurcation refer?
Okay. Bifurcation means some sort of change in dynamic behavior. Just for example, in case of transcritical bifurcation, what you can say that as per this model, what I have considered, I can quickly go back to the model such that you can have a clear-cut idea that what I'm trying to say, you will have the clear-cut understanding. So for first Rosenzweig-McArthur model, what I have shown you that with respect to beta, you can have this transcritical bifurcation. So beta is involved here. Once beta is less than some threshold, so that means growth of the predator is not significantly high, they cannot survive. Once it is above some threshold, that means above the transcritical bifurcation threshold, then they can coexist with the prey. So that is the interpretation of transcritical bifurcation. Again, if you further increase the growth rate of predator, that is beta, so once it is greater than the Hopf bifurcation threshold, what will happen? That there will be a periodic coexistence behavior. Again, question arises how it can be understood biologically. Biologically, it can be understood in a way, if there is enough growth in the predator, they will increase grazing pressure on the prey. As a result, there will be decline in the prey population. It is a prey predator model with specialist predator. Once there is a decline in prey density, so there will be a decline in the predator density also due to scarcity of the food. And once predator density goes below some threshold, again prey population will start increasing. And once the prey population arrives at a certain high value, again you can see further growth in the predator population, and these phenomena keep on happening in a cyclic manner. So this is some sort of explanation for two types of bifurcation. One is transcritical bifurcation, one is Hopf bifurcation. Keep in mind, this is the interpretation with respect to Rosenzweig-McArthur model only. So depending upon the model, depending upon the parameter, depending upon the bifurcation, we have to find out appropriate interpretation of such kind of bifurcations.
Thank you, sir. The next question asked Ashraf Inigat, since these parameters are now from non-dimensionalized version, what are the biological meaning of those parameters?
Okay, it is a good question. So suppose if I again return back to the previous slide. So just try to realize that if we compare this equation with this equation, so then you can see that this term is negative when n1 is greater than k. This term is positive whenever n1 greater than k. So in that case, we can say if x1 greater than alpha, then this term is negative. If x1 less than alpha, then this term is positive. So although it is a non-dimensionalized version, but in some sense, we can say that alpha is somehow represents dimensionless carrying capacity. But if you want to have appropriate biological meaning or ecological interpretation of such kind of bifurcation threshold, the simplest way is that suppose you have obtained some result, say alpha equal to alpha star is a bifurcation threshold. And through non-dimensionalization scheme, you can convert this condition, that is alpha equal to alpha star, to a condition in terms of original parameter and accordingly you can have the interpretation in terms of original parameter. So the point is that what I can say that if I have non-dimensionalized version like this, then I have no way out to talk about what is going to happen with the increase in per capita growth rate of prey or change in the carrying capacity of the prey. If you are interested to interpret the result in terms of per capita growth rate of prey or carrying capacity of the prey, that is the bifurcation result you want to interpret in terms of non-dimensionalized parameter, then you have to consider either this model or this model, or that means this type of non-dimensionalization. So this non-dimensionalization to interpret in terms of carrying capacity, this model in terms of growth rate. But of course, all the time there is a possibility to interpret the result in terms of original parameter. Just you have to replace the expression for dimensionless parameter in terms of the transformation what you have used in order to derive the dimensionless version from the original.
Thank you, sir. The next question asked Joy, can we use the Ali effect in a 3 or more dimensional nonlinear ODE model?
Yes, because the last model that I have shown you, that is Ali effect in 2 prey 1 predator model, that is a model with Ali.
Okay.
So here it is actually Ali effect. So 2 prey 1 predator. So it is a 3 species model and with Ali. Of course you can use.
Okay, the last question, as I have seen, Prutusha Dutta, how to calculate Lyapunov number for supercritical and subcritical bifurcation?
Okay, there is actually appropriate expression, and as you can see my screen, I can just try to quickly locate in Wikipedia. Of course, if you, my suggestion is you just go to the book by Parco, and there is a 3 different possible format they have given in terms of calculating the first Lyapunov number. So Hopf bifurcation SCHOLARPEDIA, Scholarpedia. If you go to the Scholarpedia, Andronov Hopf bifurcation, this one, this here, and this is the first Lyapunov coefficient. You can see that this is the thing, first Lyapunov coefficient. So if you go through this one, then this L10 is the calculation for first Lyapunov number. But of course, this is quite complicated. But if you have a look at the book by Parco, you can have a very handy expression for first Lyapunov.
Okay, so the next question is Dr. Hamad Khalil. Can we derive the condition for fractional order derivative model? I think he is asking about the bifurcation condition for the
condition for bifurcation. So far as my knowledge goes, I rarely work with fractional derivative, but recently we published one paper in Gauss-Solitone factors where we have given the analytical condition for deriving Hopf bifurcation for fractional differential equation, but keep in mind that is for Caputo derivative. And for other bifurcations, I think problem is still open. So far as my knowledge goes, I don't know how to find out analytical condition and transversality condition for transcritical bifurcation and pitchfork bifurcation, saddle node bifurcation, etc. In terms of fractional differential equation.
That's all that I have received in the chat box. Is there any more question or comments from the audience, from the participants?
Mr. Banerjee, I have a supplementary question with the students.
Yes,
Yeah.
please, sir.
If we don't make any dimensional analysis, dimensionless analysis, you just go for with the same original model, the result is somehow different, or is it can the behavior may be the same?
Same. Practically you can say they are topologically equivalent.
Okay, so I think making dimensionless the analysis or calculation may be a little bit easier, right?
Non-dimensionalization is mostly done in order to reduce the number of parameters in order to have the different threshold. That means in order to simplify the algebraic calculations.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I think it is very nice, Moin Kabir. Just
Yes.
make conclusion for this session and maybe have a break, and then we can make go for the first second one.
Okay, one more question I have received from Ashrafi Nigar. In bifurcation diagrams, are the regions found analytically or numerically?
Whatever I have shown in my presentations, all are obtained analytically.
Okay, I
Yes.
think we can stop the first session here. Haider sir, we may have 10 minutes break now.
Yeah, we can have a 10.
I have a comment.
Yes, please.
I have a comment, Dr.
Sharia.
Kumar.
Yes, please.
Mr. Banerjee, it was a nice presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your sharing. And it's possible to give us the slide.
Definitely, definitely.
So
Definitely.
then we can share with our students for further consideration.
Sure, sure.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, and for your kind information, we will try to upload the recording in BSMB YouTube channel. You can find, just go to YouTube and search BSMB. There is a dedicated channel for BSMB, and we will try to upload all the recordings over there. And
I would like to say for the participants, because when a lecture is going on, most of the participants are putting a lot of messages in the chat box. I would like to request we pay a deep attention to the lecture first, analytical lecture. It is very important because we will provide all the video recording and also slide in our web page, in our official web page. So please make a deep attention to the lecture, theoretical lecture, and then also give attention to our numerical session. It is very important. So don't put so much message before ending the lecture. Thank you.
thank you, sir. So now we have 10 minutes break. We will start 5:10, the next session. So we should not leave the Zoom link. We'll remain here, and please make yourself comfortable for this 10 minutes, and we'll start at 5:10. Thank you very much, Professor Maloy Banerjee again.
Also,
Yes.
Dr. Humayun, also,
Yes.
we may request our students, faculties to check in the meantime that their MATLAB is working or not, and is it okay? Yeah, please do that yourself.
Yes.
Then you can practice it through in between the course, in between the lecture as well.
Yes, Professor Pavel Shariar mentioned very correctly. I'd like to request all the participants to make your MATLAB ready so that it is workable or not, because in the next lecture, Professor Maloy Banerjee will show the computational aspect, I mean the computational ability for the bifurcation analysis or something like that. That's why you should check by this time whether it is working or not. Thank you. So we'll start at 5:10. Thank you very much.
মৌলিক একটা জিনিস আমি সেগুলো আমার লিখতে হবে আপনি বলেন